A little bit.
I know, right?
Decker is yelling at us. He's like, guys, let's start the podcast. This is good content. Sorry,
catching
man.
up.
Yeah,
it's been a while, right?
Yeah, it has been. So what's up, dude? Well, matter of fact, let's do this since a lot of people at home might not know much about you. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what it is you do?
All right. So former MMA fighter, transitioned into bikini competitions with the WBFF. It's the organization. So yeah, we'll get into all the nitty gritty and the good stuff. But
all the nitty gritty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jersey girl out here in Cali.
You're from Jersey.
Now.
That was the first thing that I noticed about you when you were like, you're from Jersey, your accent and shit. I'm like, oh, look at that. Dudes out here like that shit, huh? When you meet dudes, do they like it? Like they're like, oh,
everybody's just like, oh, where are you from? You know, this, that. They always get New York, though.
Yeah.
And it's just like, no, not New York. Nobody knows, like, Jersey, you know?
Yeah.
But
it's funny because in the East Coast, if you hear that accent, the first thing that you ask is, are you from New Jersey? You know?
You know what? You don't even hear it. Like, now when I go back, I'm more like, oh, my God, now I hear the accent. But before, it's like, you know, everybody out here, they're like, oh, you know, when I say certain things, like, oh, coffee. It's coffee. It's water. Yeah. You know, they're like, you want what? Funny story real quick.
Go ahead.
So we're out at a karaoke bar, whatever. I can't drink. So I'm like, oh, let me just go get a water. So I go up to the counter. I'm like, oh, may I please have a glass of water or a bottle of water? I'm sorry, what? I'm like, can I have water, please? Huh? And they're looking at me. I'm like, water? I'm like, can I say it any slower?
Yeah.
You know?
Water.
Yes. In order of what? Yeah. I'm like, no, water, like you drink. Oh, okay. And I'm like, that has never happened to me before.
You mean water?
Yeah. I'm like, oh my God, really? Is my accent that bad? But when I go home, it's like everybody understands me, you know? But I think it's getting a little better.
Yeah, it does, you know? And like it's funny. Everything changes. Like I've been out here for 9 years, and like my brother and my family, they call me Cali boy now. They're like, bro, you still wear fitteds, but you wear flip flops, and I'm like, bro, that's my style, you know, like whatever. They're like, you toss the J's, you don't even talk the same. You talk all nice and perfect. But when I go home for a little bit, I start picking up like that ratchetness, and it bothers me. Yeah, you know, I start talking like with that like East Coast slang and shit, but it's crazy.
Realize it. Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah. It's so wild how that happens. Yeah. We're fucking weird. We're weird. Different areas have like different accents and shit. What the fuck is that about?
I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, I wonder. You know, like, what else is interesting, right? When it comes to accents, is like, if you hear somebody from Australia and then somebody from England, I guarantee you, most people struggle to see the difference. Yeah. But they know right away. Mm-hmm. You know, like people who are in England, they know, oh, he sounds Australian.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I can't tell the difference between that shit. I mean, I know there's a difference. Yeah. You know, but
it's like a slight difference to us, but it's like to them, it's like, oh, it's completely different.
Yeah.
Like, what?
It's like you can probably pick up a Boston accent, huh?
Oh yeah, the pop, the cot, the yard, you know.
But people are like, oh, it's the same accent. It's the East. No, it's not. It's different.
No, please. If somebody ever said that I had a Boston accent, no offense, I'm sorry. No, I can't. I pronounce my R's.
Yeah.
Pack the car.
Pack the car. Pack the car. We gotta go pack the car. Hey Decker, you're from Maine, or is there like a specific accent from Maine? People from Maine?
Yeah, everybody talks like, come on out here, bub, and get your four-wheeler.
That's fucking weird.
Go cruise around the woods.
I feel like that's like people from Chicago have like their own thing. It's man.
They're just hicks.
Yeah.
It's just hillbillies.
It's weird. And then you got people in the South, they got their own language and shit, Cajun and shit. The fuck. Like, remember the time when Bobby Boucher All right, so sorry guys, we went on a tangent, but that's the best part about this is we can do whatever the fuck we want.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
Oh, we're allowed to curse?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I don't have to watch.
No, yeah.
Sometimes the Jersey does come out. Yeah, no, curse a lot.
I curse fuck, shit, balls, cock, fucker. Doesn't matter. They don't like it. They can just fucking unclick the video. You know what I mean?
That's true.
All right, so. First of all, what brought you out here to California? You were born and raised in New Jersey.
Yeah.
Okay.
So growing up was kind of weird. I never really felt like I really belong like in Jersey. It was weird. Like I always felt like there was more.
Yeah.
So, you know, I did the whole school thing, you know, my mom like, oh, go to college, do that, do this. Okay. So, went to community college, got my associates, went to university, got my bachelor's in psychology.
What university did you go to?
Rutgers.
Oh, you went to Rutgers?
Yes, but I was commuting back and forth from where I'm from in New Jersey,
it.
which in the morning, it was hell. It was like an hour drive, like with traffic. And
in high school, we went to we went to like a Rutgers football camp every year, every
Ah.
summer for that.
Yeah, Rutgers is terrible now. But yeah, so did that. I was literally nonstop from high school to college, working full time, going to school full time. Never took a semester off, just hustling to get shit done.
Right. And what'd you get your degree in? You said
Psychology.
Psychology.
Yeah.
Oh shit! So you already picking up on like things that I'm doing and shit.
A little bit.
Yeah.
I'm analyzing right now.
Yeah, you are. You're like, fuck. So how do you feel about that?
Yeah. Tell me more.
All right. So you got a degree in psychology,
Yeah.
and you got your bachelor's, or
I got my
you got that
bachelor's. I ended up graduating with a 3.9. You know, working full time. I
Look
literally
at
had
you.
no life.
Yeah.
I mean, just growing up, it was just like hustle.
I'm feeling that right now. I know.
Yeah.
I can only imagine because I'm only not even halfway there, and fuck.
Yeah,
it
it's
is not
tough.
easy.
But you know what?
Yeah.
It's like you always have to look at the positive, like what you do have.
Right.
And we'll get more into that.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
you know, it's just about the end goal. You know, I have this goal, I'm working towards it. I want to get my degree. And, you know, at that time I was a huge perfectionist. Like, have to get good grades. You know, if I got a B+, and I did in one class, and I was like, shit, I'm like, no, you know, but
bullshit. Yeah,
but it happens. And, you know, going through all that, I started to really like think about like, all right, what's going to fulfill me? You know, I loved acting growing up. Loved it. My dad, he was an actor.
Was he in anything like
he was in
that we'd
some
know?
soap operas and stuff.
Okay.
When he was younger, but we don't really talk too much anymore. But you know, it's something that I wanted to do. But growing up, you know, grew up with my mom, single parent. She was very foreign. She was born in Greece, so even though she's been here for a while, it's very Greek.
Yeah.
So if you've seen my big fat Greek wedding, that's
Put
my
Windex
family.
on it.
Yeah, it's usually Lysol with my family, but very similar.
Yeah.
So yeah, just growing up very foreign and just set in their ways. Like, all right, just like I said, school. You know, going outside the norm, which there's nothing really wrong with that. But I just felt like there was something else in me.
What was your dad's nationality?
Italian.
Okay, so damn, so you were brought up a genuine East Coast girl. Your dad's fucking Italian, East Coast Italian. Your mom's from Greece. Fuck. Yeah.
So it was very...
Damn.
But my
It's
dad's
a lot of
side...
tradition there.
Yes.
I bet. Yeah.
My dad's side is very Americanized, but they still have like the Italian traditions.
Right.
Like, you know, Christmas Eve, they do the 7 fishes and all that.
Right.
But yeah, it was crazy growing up. But yeah, after school was just like, you know, I just felt like I needed something more fulfilling. So trying to figure that thing we called life, you know? So of course I've always been into fitness my entire life. From the time I was very young, I used to get made fun of for being fat.
Okay.
So that really stuck with me growing up. And it was very traumatic, you know, like being called fat, and, you know, I was a big tomboy.
That probably didn't help.
Not at all. So people, you know, being bullied, and kids are mean, you know, and you don't realize it until now, where it's like, holy shit.
They have no filter, you know, and they just do shit. They're like, your eyes are kind of crooked, and you're like, what the fuck, man?
Yeah, it's like, you're fat and ugly. And it's like, when you're young, it's like you soak up everything like a sponge. Like, you're trying to figure out like your identity, who you are, and it's like, that shit affects you.
Yeah.
And it sure as hell did with me.
Yeah.
So, you know, just growing up like that, my confidence was just terrible as a kid. You know, my self-esteem, not loving myself. And that was a huge thing up until actually recently, where it was like, I didn't really love myself, you know, and it wasn't until recently where I really figured all that out. But just going through all that shit, it's like trying to figure out what fulfills me. So after the whole college thing and all that, I was like, you know what? Like, what can I do as a profession? Something that's different, that's not going to be the same every day. And I didn't want to jump right into grad school or a PsyD or PhD program.
Right.
You know, I love helping people, and sitting in an office all day talking to people, I feel like it would be fulfilling to a certain extent, but I felt like there was more that I had to offer.
Did you feel like that, you know, growing up with your childhood and like the trauma of like, you know, kids and being called, I mean, everybody experiences shit like that. I was fat growing up, and like, man, my brothers and cousins and everybody, I went through the same thing, you know? But do you feel like that's part of the reason why you wanted to be a psychologist? Because you felt like you'd be able to, like, subconsciously, like you wanted to kind of work with people like that and work them through like mental issues, like, like, you know, like personal issues and how it affects them psychologically?
Absolutely. And I also think experience does a lot for people. I also, growing up, when I was 14, that's when I really started to lose weight. I ended up losing, I think it was like around 40 pounds. But that's where everything started to spiral, and I didn't know that.
Right.
I developed an eating disorder.
Oh, shit.
So that was super tough, like, especially with my family. And just like I said, my mom was very foreign. She was scared. She didn't know what was going on. You know, I just stopped eating. And this was when I was 15. Like, I started working out and being healthy, but it just got to the point where it's like I started obsessing over just about everything. Like, oh, I can't even eat peanut butter. It's healthy fat, but I didn't know. Right. You know, this is stuff that I was just like learning on my own. The fear, what you hear on the internet. I
mean, also back then, most people didn't know. You know, it hasn't been until recently that we've discovered that, like, you know, the sugar industry's been paying scientists to push this specific agenda about how fat's bad and sugar's good. Back in the day, all of the promos that you used to see for sugar is like sugar was the appetite suppressant. Everything was fat free and loaded with sugar, and you thought it was good for you. And really, it's the other fucking way around. You need those essential fatty acids, and you know, we're only figuring this out now. So it's crazy.
Exactly. And just going through that, it's like something just kind of clicked where I just felt like I just lost control of my life. Like, that was the only thing that I had control over, being bullied. It was just so much shit that like just came together and almost triggered it, where I wasn't eating. My mom's freaking out, like, what is going on? You know, like, and it wasn't until my mom brought me to the doctor. And it's funny because I had to deal with a nutritionist at the doctor's office. And later on, when I had spoken to her, my mom, she's a very passionate person, very loving. And, you know, when it comes to me, like, I'm her everything, you know? So it was almost like I was dying in a sense. So we go to the doctor's office. The nutritionist, like, a couple days later, whatever, I'm talking to her. She's like, you know, I thought that you were, like, diagnosed with cancer. That's how your mom was acting. Really? Because my mom was just so scared. And it's you know, so.
Well, you is it because you weren't eating and she was just like, I don't know what's going on? And, you know, like you said, like a traditional Greek mom, you know, she wants to cook for you.
Yeah, the Europeans are all eat. Anytime you go over, oh, are you hungry? Well, here, eat. Yeah. So I ended up losing a ton of weight. I got really close to 100 pounds even.
Fuck.
And it was bad. And that's when the doctor that day was like, listen, if you don't get your shit together, you're going to be admitted into Children's Hospital in Philly with a feeding tube. That shit scared the hell out of me. And I was like, all right, listen, like, I'll get the help that I need, whatever. So, of course, they tried putting me into therapy. But at that age, you don't take anything serious. You know, it's just like, all right, whatever. Like, you think you know better. And just ever since that point on, it's like, I started eating again and whatever, talking to the nutritionist, getting more real knowledge. Just going through all that, it's like, even then, I still had an unhealthy relationship with food. Where it's like, you know, I'm still scared to eat this, I'm still scared to eat that, whatever. But, you know, kind of went on. I was still eating healthy, but still scared to eat certain things. But just going through all that crap really sat with me, actually, up until recently, till I started working with my current nutritionist, Justin. He really switched a lot for me. I was working with him when I was cutting for my, I think, first amateur fight. And, you know, just really getting the knowledge and like, listen, like, it's okay for you to have like a burger and fries. Like, it's okay. Like, don't feel guilty about it. And I would still beat myself up about it. And even after this last competition, you know, the rebound, they call it, it's real. Yeah. Like, afterwards you just want to shove your face with everything, pancakes, this, that. And I remember one day, you know, after the competition, me just eating a bunch of shit. Like, it felt like my stomach was not getting full. I felt terrible. I was like, you know what? I'm going to go to the gym. This was at midnight. I go to the gym and I just felt like shit. And I'm like, what am I doing? Yeah. You know, and it's just like, shit just starts clicking. And it wasn't until now where it's like, you know, I need to really be more mindful. And that's something that he has taught me. More mindful about like how I'm feeling, you know, when I'm eating. Like, am I really hungry right now? Or am I just eating it to eat it? Right. You know, so that was a big thing. And it wasn't until recently where my like eating habits have really changed completely. And it's like, you know, if I can help in some sort of way just from the experience that I've went through, you know, because a lot of times people don't want to talk about like, oh, I went through this disorder, or like, you know, because I went from one extreme to the next where it's like I went from eating nothing and then binging. Right. And it's just like going from one side to the other. It's like, holy shit. Like, you realize a lot, you know, and a lot of people, and it's something that he mentions, we don't know how to eat. You know, we're sitting here watching TV, or we're on our phones, Instagram, Facebook, and it's like, are you really paying attention to what you're eating?
And it's crazy because our minds are so active, you know, we're always looking at a screen, and like there's so much going on, and like, you know, like you see a video of somebody cooking and you're like, man, that looks good, I'm kind of hungry, but you're really not, you know, like you're seeing things that you're not really like built to see yet, you know. We haven't evolved this way yet, you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? It's just, it's interesting to think about, because you're right, like we're the most obese we've ever been in the history of the world, and not just like, you know, America being one of the most obese countries in the world, but in the history of the world, I feel like as a whole, we're fucking obese. You ever seen one of those charts where it's like how tall you should be for your weight? I'm fucking nowhere near that. I've never been anywhere near that. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I wouldn't say that I'm fucking obese, you know, but like, it's just different, you know. And he's right, and you're right when you say it, is like, we don't know how to eat or what we're doing, you know. We eat when we want, and we have that luxury. Yeah. You know,
or even when you're bored.
Yeah.
It's like, how many times have you been really sitting on the couch or watching TV? You know what? Like, you're not even hungry, but it's like, you know, let me get some ice cream. You know? I've been so guilty of that, you know. And if I could, and that's one thing, I was a big emotional eater. Like, well, before I wasn't, but like recently, like kind of like before. A couple months ago, I was like, you know, I'm such an emotional eater. Like, if I'm sad, I'm like, I'm going to get some ice cream, some cookies. I feel sad, but then at the end of the day, it's like, I feel like shit. Yeah. You know, but
yeah, I've really been like conscious of that lately too. Like, since I've been out of the Marine Corps, and like I try to meal prep as much as I can, and I try to eat healthy. And I was prepping for that fight for like 2 or 3 weeks before I got injured. So I was really aware, like, man, I feel fucking great when I'm eating greens and vegetables and fucking kale and chicken. Like, I'm not hungry, you know, but like, I feel like, man, I could fucking eat. Like, if somebody's eating a burger in front of me, like, man, I want a fucking bite of that. But I wasn't hungry, and I felt great. I felt like I can fucking move. And then when I eat like a cheeseburger, or I go out to eat, I just feel so fucking lethargic and just,
just like,
fuck.
Yeah.
You know, we had a cheat meal the other day, right? Melanie and I.
Yeah.
And like, we ordered pizza, and we ate pizza, and after, I just felt like shit. And I looked at him like, we don't need to do this again. Like, if we're going to have a cheat meal, I'd rather just like cook a steak, you know, throw a steak on the grill and something, because this shit, you know. And we haven't had pizza since, you know, but it's just crazy to think about, just being aware of that.
Yeah. And that's the biggest thing, and something that I've realized, where it's like, you know, my birthday was a month ago, and I was, of course, talking to my nutritionist. I'm like, do I get a treat? You know, because at that time I was like 2 months out around. And he's like, of course. And meanwhile, I'm thinking, oh, I'm going to get Susie cakes. I'm going to get ice cream. I'm going to do this. And then I thought about it. I'm like, you know what? If I eat all that processed sugar and stuff, I was like, first off, I'm going to want more. It's going to make me feel like shit. I was like, so what can I have that's like a treat? So I ended up going to like Press Juicery, and they have this like ice cream, but it's all natural, whatever. And it was good.
Yeah.
And I was like, it still satisfied that craving.
Right.
But like I felt good afterwards because, you know, dates and bananas and all that. So I'm like, just being more aware of like how you're feeling after you eat certain foods. It's like, it makes a big difference.
Right.
You know? So.
That's crazy. All right. So you went through all this stuff, and this happened recently, right? With your new nutritionist, where like he's made you realize a lot of this stuff and what you're eating, be more conscious.
Yeah, it's
and stuff
definitely
like
a process. It took me a while. I'm a very stubborn person.
Yeah.
Anybody who's close to me will tell you how stubborn I am.
I think it's an East Coast thing. Well,
Yeah.
you know, a lot of people are stubborn, but I feel like in the East Coast, it's like the environment just creates a stubbornness, you know?
Oh,
you
yeah.
have to put up with all this shit, all this different weather.
That's what it is.
You know what I mean? And like, you know, if you think about it, the best time in the East Coast is like the spring and the fall, because it's like middle weather and it's nice. But then you get the worst of the fucking winter, the coldest winters. Then you get the hottest summers. It's fucking humid.
Oh, it's terrible.
Yeah, you know, and I don't know. Something about the East Coast develops like a stubbornness. You know, even people who are born in the Midwest and they move to the East Coast, you just have, you know, you're in traffic honking. Nobody honks out here in traffic.
Oh, no.
You know what I mean?
Not at all.
And then you go to the East Coast and it's like everybody's honking. Dude behind you just won't lay off the horn. You're like, bro, it's not it's an accident like 8 miles ahead. Why is this dude honking?
Yeah.
But that's normal.
Yeah.
People are just cutting you off and shit.
I catch myself doing that. I'm not gonna even lie. I still have the road rage. I'm like, let's go. There's like, you know, you're in traffic, but there's like five car lengths ahead, and I'm like, what are you doing? Go. But it's like,
you know what kills me out here? I feel like fucking people don't know how to yield. Whenever there's a yield or you have to like integrate with like another lane, they'll stop.
They don't know how, like every other. It's like,
bro, just drive through and like pump the brake as you go and fill in. Why the fuck are you stopped here? It's a fucking yield, bro.
Yeah, they don't get that concept.
That's crazy.
Almost every day when I'm going to the gym, it's like getting from the 90. What is it? Yeah, the 90 to the 405. It's like I see it every day, and I'm just
I can't imagine LA traffic.
I can't
imagine LA traffic. You deal with that shit every day. You have to fucking plan your time around shit. And
it's terrible, but you know what?
It's life.
The weather.
Oh, the weather is nice.
I'll deal with the traffic, but
yeah, fuck it. That's how I feel too. I feel like I'm like, it's fuck it. It is kind of nice out here though.
Gotta take it, you know.
It's like it's cold up here to most Californians. You know, it's like what 50 degrees? Not even.
I know.
I was telling Melanie. Around that time, I'd still be in like a wife beater and shorts outside, like running around and shit. You know, 50 degrees isn't shit. Now I'm like a little bitch at night. I like get a like. I'm like, I'm cold. How cold is it?
I know. When I first came out here, because actually this month will be 4 years that I lived out here. When I first moved out here, you know, it's December, like a month later from like when I first came out here. The girls are like, it's freezing, blah blah. I'm looking at them like, freezing.
Yeah, you don't know what freezing is.
I'm like, it's 55 degrees. How are you cold? Now all of a sudden, oh my God, it's 55 degrees.
Like, oh my God, I can't
you just
believe.
Adapt, you know? It's crazy.
Now, I feel like it's very rare in California to go like this and see your own breath, you know? In the East Coast, every day.
And now, my competition, December 2nd.
Oh, yeah, you got to go out there, huh?
Oh, my God.
It's going to be rough.
And I'm thinking to myself, my last competition was in April.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't cold. And I was freezing because
my
body...
Where was it at? Where was your last competition?
It was at the Wilshire Bell Theater.
Where's that?
Right in LA.
Okay, in LA.
Like borderline, like Koreatown
area,
right on Wilshire. But yeah, like I was freezing. And I'm like, wait a second, that was April in California.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm about to go to New Jersey in December.
It's gonna be different.
I was like, holy shit.
But hopefully it helps you. You know what I mean? Like maybe it'll be so cold your body goes into like some sort of shock and your skin really tightens up. Maybe it'll be like,
what is it, cryotherapy?
Yeah, like cryotherapy.
Yeah, like, you know? Yes, my body is healing right now.
All right, so you graduated from Rutgers, right? You graduated from Rutgers, and then what happened after that? Like, did you try to look for a job? As like, how does it work once you get a degree in that field? You know.
So I was looking into options, but I knew that I would have to have at least a master's to do, you know, at least social work. But I didn't want to go into debt right away. You know, I was paying for my own schooling.
Yeah.
So within literally 2 months, I just hustled through school, like working. I paid off all my student loans 2 months after I graduated.
Yeah,
I was like, you know,
really
screw
good.
this shit. I'm not having debt.
And it also helped that you went to community college for a little bit too.
Yeah, that helped big time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I went through all that, and I'm like, you know what? Like, I still stayed at my current job. Was at a car dealership, and just thinking about, I'm like, what else can I do that's like still has like that adrenaline rush? Because growing up, like, just like I said, I was a tomboy. I used to race cars, you know, track events. I was just into everything. I mean, you name it, I most likely tried.
Right.
So I was like, what can I do that would be like fulfilling, whatever? So I applied for the state police.
Okay.
And that's something that a lot of people don't know. So went through that. I went through, and I was
a state trooper. That's pretty dope.
Yeah. And I was young too. I think I was like 21, 22 when I applied. And, you know, I always heard like the rumors, like they really don't hire like people in their like early 20s.
Got it.
So I was like, well, doesn't hurt to try.
Right.
Whatever.
You know what's the worst that can happen?
Yeah. So I ended up like passing the written test, did the physical, all that stuff, passed. And then I just got a notice that I didn't get in. So I was like, all right, it's probably because of that or whatever reason. So just exploring my options, and I'm like, you know what? Like, I'm going to get back into acting again and just see where, you know, that leads me. So started getting back into it and all that. And one of my good friends that I had met through acting classes actually in Atlantic City, I would drive 2 hours, about an hour and a half, 2 hours from where I'm from to go to these acting classes. Met him, and he's like, oh, you know, I know somebody who is casting for a feature film, whatever. So I ended up auditioning, ended up getting pretty big role in it. And that's how I met this girl, Daria. And that's who actually got me into fighting and who actually got me out here.
Got it.
She wanted to move out here, and she was just that push for me, you know, like just such a positive influence on me to be like, you know what, like, this is your life, like, do this shit. And I've always wanted, since I was a little girl, like, I must have been 5 years old, where I was like, you know what, I want to move out to California. Never been out here. Like, it was just in my head. Right. You know, just talking to her about it, she was just like, you know what, like, let's do it.
Let's do it.
So at that time, we ended up filming this, that, and then she's like,
so this is a girl you met in the acting class? No,
she was casting for the film, and she was actually the lead in the film.
And she wanted to move out here for acting, right? Was that what it was? Or you were like, whatever, let's just move?
Yeah, like, let's see what it has to offer. And like, we were both into acting, so it seemed like that was the plan.
Right.
And the opportunity, of course. You know, you're in LA.
Yeah.
Until you realize what that business is about.
Oh my God. I've talked about it with so many people. We'll get there though.
Yeah.
Because that's a fucking nightmare.
Yes.
You think it's gonna be all like awesome and bright lights and like, I got a shot, until you realize everybody is a fucking actor in LA. Everybody is trying to make it happen.
Yeah.
Waitresses, waiters, bartenders, busboys, valet, homeless people on the sidewalk playing fucking drums with their feet, incredible talents, still trying to make it, you know?
Yeah,
it's
everyone.
fucking crazy.
But yeah, so we had planned at that time, we're like, all right, let's move out to California in 2 years. All right, sure. A couple months later, 2 years became 1 year. 1 year became 4 months. So we ended up coming out, like, I think it was, we finished filming in like August. At the end of September, we had come out here. We're like, let's just try and find an apartment, whatever. We ended up signing a lease, whatever. And a month later, we ended up driving out here. Coming out here, you know, doing our thing, whatever. And she actually used to fight right out of high school. She ended up moving to Florida. She was training with American Top Teams and all that. Okay. And like, when I was younger, I always wanted to do martial arts, and like, I've always wanted to do jiu-jitsu. One of my cousins was in it, and my mom was like, you're not doing that shit. Like, you're gonna get hurt. And of course the fear and all that, getting beat up. So I was like, all right. So then,
it's not for girls.
Yes.
Yeah.
So came out here. She was trying to help me find a gym, because I didn't have a hobby out here. And like, I noticed myself, I started to get like a little chubby again. And I'm like, I was still going to the gym, but I needed more.
You needed
Once
something.
again, I needed to feel like fulfilled. So we were looking around for gyms, and like with my work schedule, it's like I can only train at night.
And what year was this that you moved out here?
This was 4 years ago.
All right, 4 years.
2013.
So 2013.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're looking around for gyms and this and that, and then we stumbled across 10th Planet HQ.
Right.
So of course Eddie's over there. So she was telling me, she's like, yeah, Eddie's awesome, whatever, blah blah. So I ended up signing up there, training a lot with Scott Ross, and you know, going through the motions of everything. I fell in love.
With jiu-jitsu.
Fell in love with jiu-jitsu.
Right.
It was just like, you know what? Like, it just felt amazing. And it taught me so much. I was such a sore loser growing up. I hated to lose. Yeah. And it's like, you go in there, you start rolling with like blue belts even.
You lose most of the time.
You lose all the time. It's not most of the time. So meanwhile, I'm getting tapped out. I'm like, shit, you know, like it just taught me how to lose and just so much like about myself and just pushing and all that. So eventually like just getting into jiu-jitsu more. And then one of the guys there, he's like, why don't you try taking a striking class? I'm like, all right. Started taking a striking class right after like the fundamentals for jiu-jitsu. Fell in love. I was like putting everything together. And of course I was doing wrestling as well. 3 months into training, I actually ended up going back to New Jersey just to visit, but there was a Naga. Mm-hmm. Ended up competing, getting first place. And nice. It was just, that was it. That was it for me. I was set. So just trained all the time, and I was like, you know what? I think I want to make that transition into MMA. You know, I started sparring and stuff, and I would always get yelled at. Yeah. Go harder. But I never wanted to, like, hurt my training partners. You know how it is, you know? And if I did, like, I felt so bad.
Yeah, sometimes you do that. You clip them, and you're like,
oh, shit. Right, man? You know? Yeah.
You're like, yeah, come on.
Yeah, and I always felt terrible afterwards. And I'm like, oh, no. But it's like if somebody went hard on me, I'm like, yeah, come on, like, let's go,
you like
know?
That shit, yeah.
But,
I always tell people it's weird. I feel like something about fighters, there's definitely something wrong with us.
Yeah.
But it's like, when I get caught with a good combination, like, I laugh. I'm like, wow, that was nice.
Yeah, right?
It's crazy, dude. Go ahead, my bad, I cut you off.
No, you're good. Yeah. So, it wasn't until then, like, I was doing striking there, and I actually ended up going to Systems Training Center to work on my striking with Marcus, the owner of the gym over there. And at that point, like, I wanted to fight for the U of MMA. Mm-hmm. I had a card up in LA, and the head coach over at the other gym was like, you know, I don't think you're ready, and this and that. And talking to Marcus, he's like, yeah, I think you would be ready and this and that. And I just trained my ass off. I was like, you know what? Like, I have this goal. Once again, it's like, I'm going to give it 110%. Right. And it's like with everything going on, me working full time, going from Santa Monica all the way to downtown to train. And, you know, I had coaches in between. Like, I ended up working with Rashad Evans, who...
Did he ever hump you or try to hump you?
No.
Rashad Evans?
Not Rashad Evans. Oh my God. Rashad Holloway. My bad.
My bad.
I got
Rashad Evans. But you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about with Rashad Evans, how he humps people? Yeah. My bad. I made that awkward.
No, Rashad Holloway. My bad. No, he was an Olympic boxer, and you know, he was just teaching me, just getting my jab right, just getting my footwork right, all that, and you know, all in between. But I was literally going from Santa Monica to Koreatown to downtown to Hawthorne, you know, back to Culver City where I lived at the time. And it was just like, literally, I was going all over the place because of this goal. Yeah. You know?
That's like me, dude, in San Diego. I worked up in fucking San Clemente, basically. And I'd come down to Oceanside to train and down to San Diego to train. And then I'd go to other boxing gyms. And like, I know that when you're trying to make that goal happen, especially in MMA, it's not, you can't take time off. If you take a break, you know, like, once that cage locks, dude, it's the real fucking deal.
Yeah.
You know?
It's time, you know, and it's everything leading up to it. It's just like, you have to give it 110%.
Right.
You know, and this is something that I learned from Marcus. Like, I remember training, and of course, everybody on the team was bigger than me. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm fighting at 115.
Yeah.
So I remember just this one day, the bad training days, just getting pummeled left and right. I'm like, oh God. I just broke down on the mats. I had my head down on the mats, just like crying, like, fuck, what am I doing? You know, having those doubts, like, am I like able to fight? Like, and then afterwards he told me, he's like, listen, he's like, you're gonna have these days. And this is someone, Marcus, I trust so much, like with everything. And he was just like, listen, you're gonna have these bad training days. And this is something that I apply to everyday life too. You're gonna have those bad days. But it's like, you know what, fight day, guess what? It may be this day. It may be that bad day.
Right.
And it's fight day. So you have to work to push through that shit and just go.
Right.
So I was like, you know what? Like, yeah. And ever since then, it's like, yeah, if I had a bad training day, I would not beat myself up about it. I'd be like, all right, you know what? I had that bad day. But it's like, you know what? Like, tomorrow may not be a bad day, or the following.
It's so crazy to me how many fighters I've talked to, and like every single one. And they'll openly admit there are days when, like, I just break down and fucking cried in my car, dude, because I fucking got my ass whipped. Or I'm on the mats and I just want to fucking cry. You know, the other day, Elima was telling me, she's like, dude, one day Shark Tank was so bad, I just started crying, but I turned so nobody can see. Just, you know, and it's just
real.
It's real, you know. It's so much passion involved in it, you know, and... You know, I don't know. Go ahead. I went off on a tangent. And it's just like you just allow yourself to have these doubts, you know, but it's like deep down inside, it's like, you got this, you know, right. But it's just those doubts sometimes and just being defeated over and over again. But when you still train through those days, it's like, you know, at the end of the day, you still kind of feel accomplished as long as you're focusing on that. Right.
You know, and I didn't for a while where I was just like beating myself up about it. But afterwards, I'm like, you know what? After having that bad day, I still continued. I still train, you know, and it's just like, you know, that's a sense of accomplishment, and you need to like celebrate it almost. Like, yeah, I work through all that bad shit, you know. So yeah, going through all that, you know, I ended up winning my first amateur fight by TKO, and striking was not my strong point. Not at all.
Right.
But it was just like, you know what? Going into that fight, I was like, you know what? I'm going to prove some people wrong. I'm going to go in there
you
first
just went
round.
out hard. You're like,
yeah, I'm like, first round, I'm like KO or TKO. Wasn't until 36 seconds into the second round where I got the TKO, but I was just like kind of in disbelief. Like, holy shit. Like, I really believed it. And some people thought I was crazy. Like, okay, you suck at striking and you think you're gonna go in there and get a TKO or a KO.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah. But no, I just went in there, and I remember after the first round ended, you know, Marcus was talking to me, this and that. I just kept having in my head, like, you have to end this fight right now. Went in there, and I don't know what it was, just something. I mean, the whole fight actually was still kind of like a blur because, of course, the adrenaline and everything. Your first fight, you know how it is.
That's what that poster is right there behind you. That's right. That's my first time ever entering the cage. Ever. Damn. It's my first fight. Yeah, and I got it because it means so much to me. You know, it's the first time I learned that lesson, and it was, you know, it was by far one of the best experiences of my life, for sure. But go ahead.
And it's such like, and I didn't realize it, and a lot of people say it's like it takes so much to get into that cage, because it's like, it's not like sparring, because guess what, that other person, they want to beat the shit out of you. They're hitting you as hard as they can. Right. They want to knock you out. Right. You know, so that was just crazy, you know, like having that, like, that shock, like, holy shit, I really did like what I said I was gonna do. But
the crazy part about it is that most people won't believe is that shock made you fall in love with it even more. Yep. You know, just knowing, like, I overcame another fucking person, another human being. They were trying to hurt me, and I fucking hurt them first, and fuck that. You know, it's like respectful, but it's like, you know, at the end of the day, you respect that person, but it's still like, the competitive nature of us as humans is like, we're our animal instinct, like you really feed that. And there's nothing, I tell people all the time, there's nothing like it, you know, like, people don't understand the sport or MMA or jiu-jitsu or combat sports in general. And, you know, when I was in the Marine Corps, right, I my last time in the Marine Corps, my last 3 years, I was an instructor at Sergeant's Course. So Sergeant's Course is this course where sergeants have to go through, and it's a requirement for them to get past the rank, to get promoted to staff sergeant, they have to graduate sergeant's course. And we teach them things about war fighting, about administrative responsibilities. We're basically teaching them, this is what the Marine Corps expects of you as a sergeant, right? Mm-hmm. And sometimes we would get sergeants that have been sergeants for like 3 years, right? And it would blow my fucking mind that they're a sergeant in the Marine Corps. We would take them to the obstacle course, and they can't get over a fucking 6-foot wall, you know, and they would start, they're trying, they can't do it, you know, and they will, grown men, Marines, sergeants in the Marine Corps will start crying. And I tell them, every time I would tell them, this is a fucking wall. It's a piece of wood. Yeah. And you can't overcome it. You're not crying. You're not crying because you're sad. You're crying because you feel bad for yourself, because you know that this is supposed to get you ready to fight another human being. Essentially, you're always training for war in the Marine Corps, and it would blow my mind. And, you know, in a way, fighting gives us that, you know, like it gives us that sense of like that power, that control, where we can if we can do this, we can fucking do anything. Yeah. And I'd watch these sergeants that can't even get over a fucking wall, and it would blow my mind, dude.
Yeah, it's crazy. And it's like, come on.
Yeah.
You know, it's, I don't know, just getting in that cage, it's just a different feeling. Like, I've never, like, jiu-jitsu tournaments, I would get nervous. Like, I would have the adrenaline dump, but with fighting, I did not. Like, something felt so right about it. It felt so fulfilling. I never really, like, I recognized the sacrifices that I was making, but I wasn't dwelling on them. Mm-hmm. Whereas, like, you know what? Like, I can't really go out and have a life on weekends. I was still training, you know, working full-time still, and it's like, I'm exhausted. I don't feel like going out, but, like, I loved what I was doing, you know? And it wasn't until my second amateur fight, I ended up losing my great aunt a couple months before, and I was very close with her. She loved me so much, and, like, she always believed in me no matter what I was doing, my NRC. And so my aunt, she told me, she's like, you know, I would love to see you fight and this and that. She had cancer and all that, and it wasn't looking good. So I decided to take the fight. So I was like, you know, I'm going to take the fight for her, you know, and do this. And my cousin had told me, she's like, you know, NRC loved you. And one of the last things that she had mentioned, because she took off a week of work to be like, all right, listen, Mom, let's do whatever you want. She's like, what do you want to do? She's like, I want to go out to California to see Christina fight. Mm-hmm. And immediately I'm like, you know what, I got to do this shit, you know? So I ended up taking the fight. She ended up passing away not too long after. So, you know, that was kind of on my mind, like, you know what, like, just pushing through, like, the pain of, like, losing her and just, like, other things that had happened in my life during that time. Mm-hmm. So just training. We'll fast forward. It was a great camp. Felt awesome. We get there to weigh-ins. I'm not going to put the organization on blast, but very unprofessional.
Okay. What were some things that were unprofessional?
First off, scales were off.
How off?
4 or 5 pounds.
Like light or heavy? Light.
So that's a little problem.
Yeah.
You know.
Right. So you were like 4 or 5 pounds under? Is that how you realized it?
So I weighed myself. Right. Yeah, I weighed myself on 2 different scales. I was 114.8. Mm-hmm. I was like, all right, you know, I'm cool, whatever. I get there, like, you know how you can check beforehand. Mm-hmm. I was 110. I'm like, 110? I'm like, shit, if weight cutting was that easy, damn.
Yeah.
This girl shows up an hour late to weigh-ins. So I'm like, is this bitch gonna show up or what, you know? Yeah. She ends up showing up.
That's the first sign that they're struggling to make weight.
Yeah.
1.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So we weigh in officially, I think it was like, I ended up being like 110.8 or like 111. And she ends up weighing like 115.
Wow.
So I'm like, ugh.
Yeah.
That's when it started.
And it's crazy because it makes you wonder if how many promotions do that, and if they, you know, because they don't want to lose fights. They can't have people not making weight.
Yeah, and especially amateur. But here's the thing. It's like, you're trained. If you're an amateur, you're training to be a professional.
And you should have that professional mentality, and attitude where,
exactly.
Yeah, you should feel like shit if you don't make weight.
Yeah, it's like, come on, like, if you can't fight at 115, go up or do catch weight.
Yeah,
like, come on. And it's
so
like,
so what happened? So she was over the weight limit.
Well, technically, she was on point because the official weight. She weighed in at 115.
Got it. So she weighed in right on weight.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, okay.
Interesting.
So fast forward to the fight. Felt awesome. Had everybody there, just feeling on top of the world. You know how it is getting into that fight. And I felt more confident than ever, especially with my striking.
Mm-hmm.
Just everything was coming together. And I worked my ass off that camp.
Right.
Every single day training. My cardio was on point. So get in the cage, whatever. First 30 seconds, she knees me twice in the face. Didn't realize this second, and in this, for those who don't know, in the state of California with amateur fights, MMA, you cannot knee or elbow to the head.
Right. So, and it's not even the fact that, like, because I'm sure some people would be like, well, you should have been ready. It's an MMA fight. But that's not the point. The point is like, you weren't training to defend that because that's an illegal move. The fight should have been stopped right there anyways.
Yeah. The first one didn't really do much.
Sometimes accidents, and sometimes it looks accidental.
Do happen. Yes.
Yeah.
The second one, that's when it
was
happened.
Deliberate. It was like
it
clearly,
hadn't been like, what you're throwing. Like the first one, I can understand.
Were you in the clinch with her? Like how did it happen?
She ended up clinching me.
Right.
And it was that second one where it was like, holy shit, and I didn't realize that. You know what it's like to be rocked.
Right.
This was rocked to a whole new level where once she kneed me, my vision went completely black. I didn't fall to the ground, but my vision in that eye was completely black.
Ooh.
I felt dazed. That's when the ref was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I remember going off to the like side, and the ref, I felt like, was almost like rushing me to like get back. That's when fight or flight came in.
Right.
Fight or flight. I lit something
so he just gave her a warning. That's it.
Yeah, just take your time, whatever. But he was just like kind of rushing me, and I remember
that's bullshit though. Shouldn't the fight have been stopped, especially at the amateur level?
Yeah.
Like you threw you might not have meant to, but you landed an illegal shot, and it's done.
This is the second one, but it's like, what really pisses me off about the whole thing, like, I was rocked this entire fight. There have been points of the fight that I do remember. But after that, it's like, I remember, like, when he was about to say go, it almost felt like my eye was still shut. And, like, I started to regain the vision. But I thought my tooth got knocked out. Even though I had my mouth guarded, but I got a shooting pain, like, on the left side of my upper lip. And I'm like, shit. But I was like, fuck this. Like, I'm still going to push.
Right.
And I was on a whole different level. Like, I had no idea what was going on in that fight. Right. And you know what?
And
like,
you were probably seriously concussed too, or you didn't even realize it.
I had no idea what was going on. And my nose freaking messed up. I'm bleeding.
Was it? Were you struggling to breathe? Did you even realize?
I didn't realize shit. Yeah. All I realized was like, I'm getting hit.
I gotta fuck this bitch up.
I'm getting hit, and I need to hit. Like, it wasn't even like, it was almost like survival mode in a sense. Like, there was no stopping. So I remember regaining like a little bit of like my balance.
Is there a video of it? Can we pull it up?
I've only watched it once.
Okay, we won't do it then.
And it gave me really bad anxiety, right, and I'll get into that in a second.
We won't do it then. Never mind. Go ahead.
I mean, there's pictures on my Instagram if you want to go through it of like the surgery and all that.
Yeah.
But so going through all that, I remember another piece. I think it may have been in the second round. I'm not too sure. I had her up against the cage. I was going to take her down, but I hadn't, like, it was so weird. Like, I didn't feel like I was in my body.
Right.
It was so bizarre. And I remember looking down and just seeing blood, not like a little drop here, little drop there. It was like almost pouring out where it's like drip, drip, drip. And I'm like, holy shit, like, how aren't they stopping this fight? Like, if you see the picture even from the fight, like, you will see, like, if you keep going down, like, you will actually see how much blood there really was.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's going to be down there a little bit.
Yeah, it'll be down there. But, Yeah, so I remember one of my friends, Baldo, he would always run with me. He was like a really big training partner for me, and huge positive influence like throughout the camp. Like when I was feeling down, he's like, "No, you got this, Chris." Like, she tried throwing a 12-6 elbow to my head, but she stopped herself.
Right.
So it's just like, this girl knew what she was doing. You know what I mean? Like, there's a difference.
Why the fuck would she? I don't understand.
Oh, it gets
that.
better. So I don't remember anything else except the third round where we're going, right?
This. All right, look at that.
Yeah, here we go. So that's the upper left. That was my nose.
Yeah, that was like
how much I was bleeding and had no idea what the hell was going on.
Like, what the fuck, man? You just got that look. Those of you at home listening, I know you can't see the video, but if you go to her Instagram page, what's your Instagram name?
Stina G35.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. They can hear you.
STINA G35.
Stina G35. It's a little bit down, but you can see it. It's just...
Yeah, it was a mess. But that
right?
third round, such an experience.
All right, so talk to me about the third
round. The only thing I remember, this bitch grabs my hair. She's holding my hair while she's punching me. And I remember stopping for a second, looking at the ref with my hands up like, dude, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
He did nothing. I'm like, that's where I was just like, you know what? I ended up finishing the fight, losing by decision. You
don't have to say who it is, but was it an experienced ref? Like, do you know? Like, was it a ref that's well known?
No.
Do you know? No. Okay. All right.
No.
All right.
But like, I remember afterwards, they were saying, "Oh yeah, we had a great night and this and that." And I'm thinking to myself, like, you didn't do your job. Like, in the amateur rules meeting, you guys are amateur. We'll stop the fight if you're in an arm bar and it looks like your arm is gonna break. We'll stop it. Oh, because I was being like, did you not see my nose? Did you not see the ring?
How do you let that continue?
Yeah, the freaking cage was filled with my blood. Yeah, filled.
It's crazy because and that's the whole point is when that fight or flight kicks in. As a fighter, we fight. It's your job to fucking stop it. It's not our job to say, and as a fighter, I'd never be like, oh, my nose is broken. Maybe I should stop the fight. It'd be like, if the ref thinks it's good, then I'm going to keep fucking going. It must not be that bad.
This is my second fight, so.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I ended up losing by decision. I had no idea what was going on.
They didn't even. Wow. So you went all 3 rounds, lost the decision. You had no idea what was going on. You're like, oh, she beat me. Couple of illegal shit, no big deal.
Yeah, go in the back whenever they're checking me out. My nose would not stop bleeding. It wasn't until my friend Baldo, because I had no idea what was going on. Apparently, I'm backstage or back with the doctor, and I'm like, all right, I'm ready to fight. I just fought. What is going on? I was not there mentally.
Really? Oh, so you had a serious concussion for sure. Up. So you didn't know that you had already fought at the time.
I had no idea. And meanwhile, I'm sitting there with my nose bleeding. So my friend Baldo, he's making a big stink. This girl needs to go to the hospital.
Yeah.
And long story short, they ended up keeping me there for I think an hour and a half, 2 hours. That's when I went to the hospital. I get to the hospital. Of course, I walk in. My face is all messed up.
Right. They're probably swollen. Your eyes are probably swollen.
My eyes were terrible. Yeah. My nose, just everything was so swollen.
Once you break your nose, a lot of times you get your eyes, both eyes will swell shut. Yeah. So it's. Fuck. So you got to the hospital. What'd they think?
They're like, oh my God, did you get assaulted? Do we need to call the police? I'm like, no, it's not that. So I go in the back and I'm still trying to have positivity and still be in a good mindset after everything that just happened. And I never fully processed it, oh shit. And being there, they didn't do an x-ray of my head because they couldn't. Because my face was just so swollen, but they didn't do a CAT scan, which I found very interesting, to see if there was any hemorrhaging in my brain.
Yeah.
But they ended up sending me home, and my nose didn't stop bleeding until 5:00 in the morning.
Yeah.
And my friend Baldo, he ended up staying with me. He was so scared. I feel so bad for him because he's you're breathing. He's scared the shit out of me, and I didn't realize at the time. My face was basically shattered on the left side. My orbital bone.
So you went home. They didn't even know that anything was broken, and they just sent you home.
Yeah. They said, your nose is probably broke, but just schedule a follow-up with your doctor.
Wow.
Scheduled a follow-up with my doctor the following Friday. So I ended up going back to work on Tuesday. Yeah, all fucked up, all bruised, my eyes swollen still. And I'm at work and I'm sitting there and I rub underneath my eye and I'm like, what the hell is that? It's like almost like something sticking out. So I have one of the girls check. They're like, that doesn't feel right. I end up going to the emergency room and they do a CAT scan of my head. Oh, your orbital bone's broke and there's a piece of fat that went through. Thank God it wasn't muscle because my eyesight would have been all messed up.
Right, but you also probably might have noticed it sooner and been like, something's wrong, my vision's off,
I mean,
you know?
they should have, I mean, my vision was okay.
Yeah.
Thank God. But like, for the doctors initially when I went into the hospital, like they should have done a CAT scan, and that was something else that bothered me where it's like I just didn't feel like I was taken care of. Like,
do you think it had something to do with like, I don't know, like maybe like your insurance, or like, or was it just them? Like, what do you think it was?
It hadn't been them, because it's like, what, just because I was in an MMA fight, you're not gonna take like the necessary action to see like if I'm okay?
Yeah.
Like, what if this was on the street and I got hit in the head? I'm sure somebody would be like, oh, do a CAT scan. And I was so fucked up. I didn't know what was going on at the hospital.
Yeah, you're not in a stable state of mind.
Exactly.
You know?
So I end up going to the emergency room. They do a CAT scan and he's like, oh, yeah, you know, your orbital bone's broke, whatever. Like, we'll send the full report to your doctor. I'm like, well, how's my nose? Because I noticed when I was breathing, it was almost like a whistle sound. And like when I would feel like on the top, I would hear like a and I'm like, that doesn't sound too good.
Right.
And he's like, no, your nose is fine. I was like, oh, okay. I get the report from my doctor. And it's like, oh, your nose is fractured in all these different places. You know, your orbital bone underneath my eyes, like in my eye socket, all this shit. I'm like, what? I'm like, how is this possible that they didn't see all this? Like from the very beginning, like with the fight through this, it's like I did not feel taken care of.
Right.
You know? And it was actually very traumatic for me, and I didn't realize until later on. And then it wasn't until I saw the specialist, and I am so grateful to have this surgeon because now he's teaching plastic surgery at USC.
Oh, nice.
But at this time, you know, he was just a trauma surgeon, and you know, as you can see, I don't have any scars on my face.
Right, you look exactly how you looked when I met you.
This eye's a little sunken in, but it's all right.
I can't really, you know.
Imperfection's beautiful.
I see you got the little hair on that
That's
side,
right.
You know, throwing it up. I like it.
That's
I see you.
Yeah,
I see you.
right. But going through everything, and you know, they explained that like I needed surgery within the 2 weeks of the injury. So I was like, all right, you know, have to get it done. So went through the surgery. Long story short, they ended up doing putting a plate underneath my eye socket and having screws all along like the rim, like the orbital bone.
Yeah.
So going through everything, he's like, oh, you're not going to be able to fight again. Not going to be able to fight again. Whatever. Long story short, the last appointment that I go and see with him or meet with him, okay, you can't fight. I'm sitting there. No, I'm in denial. Like, no, like I could still fight. Like, this is what I feel like I was meant to do. This is my career. You know, as crazy as it may sound, I planned on being in the UFC. I planned on fighting for as long as my career lasted.
Right.
And here somebody's telling me, you can't fight. You cannot fight again.
Right.
So I was like, all right, listen, I know he's a doctor. I know he's going to be like, oh, you can't fight, whatever, blah, blah. I'm like, he was a cool-ass doctor. I'm like, okay, if I did fight again, you know, what could happen? He's like, honestly, he's like, your face would not be able to take that impact. He's like, now that you have metal in your face, the screws along with the plate, it's like, if I were to get kneed there, I have metal there now. Yeah. So it's like, that shit can go all up in my eye and this and that. It's like, can you imagine reconstructing that? Yeah. So it's like, you know, it obviously ended for a reason, and that's something that I couldn't accept right away. You know, I went through the trauma of it. You know, I was having flashbacks of the fight. What could I have done differently? And this and that's like beating myself up about it. I'm like, not until later, like, there's nothing that I could do. I was not there mentally, you know, and just being accepting of it to be like, you know what, like, it happened for a reason. And I remember right after I got out of surgery, I forget who I was talking to because I was all messed up on medication. But I was like, and fitness has always been a big part of my life ever since I was young. I was like, I'm going to compete. I'm going to compete in a bikini competition. Meanwhile, I'm a big tomboy. Seeing me in heels, seeing me in a bikini, half naked, on stage, everyone. You know? So, you know, it didn't really come to mind whatever, like, I was still in my head, but, like, just accepting the fight, having flashbacks of it, getting super bad anxiety. I went back to watch the fight once. Could not watch it. I had so much anxiety from it that it was just like, oh my God. I'm not sure how it is now, but it's like, I kind of don't want to revisit it just yet. I mean, I am accepting of it now and, like, you know, just looking at the positive side of things, that it did happen for a reason. And, you know, going through this bikini competition, it really taught me a lot about myself and, like, to actually love myself, like, fully, and have that confidence that I've never had before. You know, I was so self-conscious. And, you know, people that grew up with me and really know me always knew, like, certain experiences from growing up and stuff, you know, being made fun of and everything. I started to withdraw. I started to become shy. And, you know, I think that's another reason why I felt like I didn't belong. I wasn't being myself. I wasn't being true and honest with myself on who I was. I was so worried now about what, you know, you were thinking, that person was thinking. And it's like, what am I doing? And, you know, still having that belief, like, you know what, I'm doing something again that nobody thought that I could do. Even my own mom. Chris, I never thought that you would do something like this. And I'm going to be honest with you. Getting on that stage, I have never been so frightened in my entire life.
Yeah, it's different, huh?
Especially, so different.
But also because you were a tomboy, you know, and now you have to, like, show, like, you know what I mean? Like, your entire body to all these strangers that you don't know. I can imagine.
And on top of that, I'm being judged.
Yeah, literally.
I'm in a competition where I'm being judged. But the crazy thing about it was, going up there, number one, I didn't think about placing. I didn't think about being judged. It was more for me. Like, you know what? I'm doing this thing that I didn't even think that I could really do. Sure, you know what? I really believed it. But it's like, from all the doubt and things that I was hearing, can I really do it? And it's just like, you know what? Like, I'm going to prove this to myself. You know what? Like, hell yeah. My mind is that strong. So it's funny, my posing coach, Sharon, when I first did a posing clinic, she's like, oh my God, like, you need to practice every single day, hours a day. I could not walk in heels. So meanwhile,
you can't even walk in heels?
Plus I have a knee injury.
Look at you sitting here with fucking heels right now.
I know.
You're like, I'm a fucking practice every day,
I basically had to learn how to be a girl in a sense. So I'm like, holy shit. Like, oh my God, like, this is so different, you know? But, and now, like, that I'm working with her for the second competition, she's like, oh, you're getting sassy and this and that. Like, look at you, you can walk. And I'm like, holy shit, just seeing that, like, before I never used to give myself that credit, and now it's just like, you know, it's something so simple. It's like, you really do have to appreciate, like, the little things that, you know, you're accomplishing. And it's just been such an amazing journey. But, like, being up there, I was so frightened. My legs would not stop shaking. So being up there, whatever, you know, I had my friends out there, this and that, and I remember they're calling out top 5. My number gets called. All of a sudden, I'm like, what? I'm still like, I'm like scared.
How many girls would you say were you competing against when you made top 5? How many? If you were just throw a number out there.
Maybe 12.
Okay.
I think.
All right.
But I was not expecting to place.
Right. You weren't expecting
at all. Like, it was just for me, like, to see, you know, like, can I do this?
Yeah.
And, like, just being able to, like, be in that good of shape and, like, see my body and the transformation, because I ended up losing, like, 30 pounds from, like, the bulk to the cut. And it was just such, like, an amazing transformation, and just seeing how much it inspired other people too, like, that made me feel good. You know, like, just like we had mentioned about, like, the psychology thing, it's like, I've always, since I was a very little girl, I've always wanted to help people. like that's what makes me feel good.
Yeah.
You know, people hearing my story and just hearing certain things, it's like if I can help someone even just a little bit of being vulnerable, because I never used to be like this. I would always just kind of like, not share my story because
super shy.
Yeah, and I grew up in a very strong household. Like all the women were strong. We don't talk about our feelings. You know, we're just strong. But it's like, you know what? The vulnerability makes you strong.
Yeah.
You know,
well, I think it makes you just aware. You know, if you're aware of your vulnerabilities, it makes you a better person. You know, like
it does.
if you just constantly hide the issues and how you feel, you're just kind of going through the motions and you can't understand why you hate your life.
Exactly.
But once you face those vulnerabilities head on and you say, okay, this is what's wrong and I want to fucking fix this, it makes a difference. And I'm starting to realize that now. You know, like I created this podcast and I had like a goal set in mind and I thought I knew who I was, and I was a Marine. I've been in the Marine Corps since high school, and now that I'm out, I'm going to college and I'm surrounded by all these 19-year-old kids that don't know shit. Some of the professors are closer to my age than, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like I'm learning things and I'm starting, you know, I'm a dad now, so I'm like way more emotional and way more vulnerable than I've ever been. But I realized that, like, I think success, it's all about taking chance and riding the wave, and finding yourself is a life process. Yeah. Sometimes you have a goal in mind, something you want to do, and you do it, and then you don't realize it, but that like vehicle, it was a vehicle that transported you to the next stop in life. Exactly. And you have to get off the fucking train and get on the next one and figure it out. And a lot of people quit and give up. They fail once and they stop. You know, and the more I'm talking and doing these podcasts with successful people, I'm realizing that a lot of the similarities is just transitioning. Like, this is what I'm doing now. Now this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm focusing on. And you can't do that unless you know yourself, you're willing to face your fears head on, and you understand what you really want.
Yeah. Because
a lot of times you might just be doing something to please other people, and you don't realize it.
Just to do it. And it's like, in a sense, it's like, don't get me wrong, I don't really regret things in my life. You know, we all grow from our experiences, but school, was it for me?
Yeah.
Maybe not. You know, I don't know where life's going to take me. It's like, I didn't expect to stop fighting. That was taken away from me, you know, but with this, you know, I don't know how it's going to take off or what it's going to transition me into, you know, and that's a big thing. It's like,
But that's the thing is you've been you're telling me this whole story, right? And everything that's taken you, the common denominator that's brought you here to this point in your life is the fact that you've just been honest with yourself and you've been willing to take a chance. Maybe school wasn't for you, but you knew you wanted to go to school. In society, we have this construct where we believe you have to do that to be successful. So you were trying to find yourself. You went to school. That's what I want to do. You graduated. You did it. Good. You know what? It made you realize that I've always wanted to be an actor. Let me go to these acting classes. Because you went to the acting classes, you met this girl and she's like, let's go to fucking LA. Let's go to the West Coast. And you did it. And because of that, you found martial arts. And because of that, you found MMA. And it took you to this ultimate low, probably the lowest low that you've ever been so far. Yeah. But you picked your shit up and you said, fuck it, let's move on. And you did something else. And all of this has kind of built you up. And it's bringing you from nothing to something in a way to where you want to be, you know, and that's what's fucking incredible about life, because it's like how many people never get to experience that.
Exactly.
How many people just they fucking bask in their sorrow and poor me, and they never really do what the fuck they want to do.
And I mean, don't get me wrong, there have been moments where I felt like that, where it's like, shit, like I feel so lost and like I felt bad for myself. But it's like, you know what? In those moments, like, you're not doing yourself any good. It's like, you have to realize, it's like, it's true. When people say, like, when you're at those lowest points, it teaches you the most about yourself. Every experience is going to be a learning experience. It's okay to feel your feelings. And that's something that I struggled with up until kind of recently, where it's like, you know what? It's okay to feel sad. You know, and like the happy points and like your accomplishments, celebrate them. Right. You know, life is too short. You know, I just recently lost my uncle, like out of the blue, like just like that. And it almost like just like I said, certain things, it's like it just changes your perspective on things. Right. And it's like you have to appreciate everything. And You know, just like I said, I don't know where this is going to take me, but honestly, the best form of success is self-fulfillment. You know, like you look at it, it's like even some of these actors and stuff like that, or producers or big CEOs, it's like, yeah, they have all this money. Look how miserable they are.
Right, they're working all the time. They don't. It blows my mind. Like all these people, like they're never with their family, and you know they're you know they have all this lavish lifestyle, all these things, but you can't really fucking enjoy it. You know, and it's a give and a take. It's, you know, you have to figure out that happy medium. You know, it's so crazy to think about. Everybody talks shit to me. Well, not talk shit to me, but everybody doubted my decision to get out of the Marine Corps. I was a very successful Marine. I was an instructor. I got promoted to staff sergeant. I got promoted to staff sergeant quick. I made it through the ranks, and I had a lot of experience, deployments under my belt. You know, it was like if I would have stayed in the Marine Corps, without a doubt, I would have been as successful as any Marine, you know, leaving the Marine Corps to retired. But I also knew in my mind that I wasn't going to be happy. You know, I joined the Marine Corps during a time of war. I went to Afghanistan, I fought, and then, you know, things started changing like everything does. Everything evolves. Yeah. And I just knew to myself, I didn't want to do this. And all these people, you know, like my bosses, my staff NCOs, the people in charge of me, they were telling me like, look, man, I went from having no kids to 3 kids in less than a year. Literally. No kids to 3 kids in less than a year. I started dating Melanie. She had her daughter. And then I found out that I got this girl pregnant and got a paternity test. It was a one-night stand before Melanie, and I have a son. And then a couple weeks after that, we found out Melanie was pregnant. And I'm telling people at my job this, and I'm already starting the transition of getting out of the Marine Corps. I got like 6 months where I can still make a decision. And everybody's like, dog, just stay in, man. Like, you have to feed 3 mouths now, you know? But I don't want to fucking deploy again. I don't want to go away from my family. I went to Afghanistan, and I fucking experienced that single. I couldn't imagine experiencing that having kids with a family. Like, and kudos to the motherfuckers who do it. Like, Decker's still in the Marine Corps, and he has a daughter. He's a single father. I don't mean to put your business out there, Decker, but like, you know, like, dudes, like, it blows my, like, it's incredible to me that people do it day in and day out. But at the end of the day, that's them. They find fulfillment in that. I realized I wanted to do something else, and you know, and I'm just riding the wave like everybody else. But you have to be willing to take the chance, and you did. Yeah, and you are every day.
Yeah, and it's like you don't know what life is gonna throw at you. Yeah, it's like 1 minute, it's just like, you know, I'm on that path. Like, I have in my head, I'm gonna end up fighting in the UFC someday, and this and that. All of a sudden, guess what? You ain't fighting anymore, not even an amateur fight. Right. You know? So it's like you just don't know, and it's just crazy how life works, you know? Yeah. But it's like you just have to trust the process. Exactly. That everything is happening for a reason, whatever it may be. You know? And do I think like martial arts in general is over for me? No. I'm still gonna train. Once this competition's done, you know, I still hit mitts.
You can still hit the bag. Look at that.
Yeah, and it's like, you know, they said about like jujitsu and stuff. Yeah, I can't get any strikes to my face.
You can do technique. You can still drill.
Exactly. And do I want to get a Naga belt one day? Yes, I do. So I don't think that's
Isn't that the goal? I swear to God, right there is where my Naga belt's gonna go.
That's right.
Right there.
Exactly. So yeah, I think I'm gonna start training again after that. But this next year, like I need to kind of take a break to just live life in a sense where it's like, don't get me wrong, I'm still working out and like training and all that, but I want to travel. And just like I said, from literally the summer of high school until my show December 2nd, I've been nonstop. Right. One thing after the other. Like literally right after my surgery, 2 weeks later, when I was able to lift, I was in the gym bulking. And then after this past competition in April, same thing, went straight into bulking for this competition in December. So it's like, you know what, like it's time to just live life a little bit, enjoy it, feel fulfilled and all that, and just see what the show brings, what else life has to offer, you know? So we'll see. That's
really good, dude. And I'm, you know, we're a little over an hour now. We're gonna start wrapping it up, and but before we do, there's always a question that I ask every guest, and I didn't warn you about the question, and I never warn anybody. And I mean, unless you've seen the podcast before, you don't know. But I really do believe that there is a moment of clarity in life, every time. There's a moment where you realize, like, you know what? This is what the fuck I want to do, like an aha moment. And I call it the from nothing to something moment. So with you, what you're doing right now, what do you feel like was your from nothing to something moment where you said, you know what? This is my fucking path and this is where I'm going to take it?
I would say it's definitely the passion to help inspire others. Even just my story from transitioning from fighting to this, how many messages I got. Oh my God, like, you inspire me, and like, you know, this has helped me with this or that. And it's like, you know what? If I'm able to actually, like, I've never been the type to just like put myself out there in the spotlight and stuff like that. And it's not like I'm intentionally doing that, but if I'm able to help someone, and especially through like a healthy lifestyle, you know, like working out, eating healthy, you know, like fitness, I believe is truly my passion. You know, regardless if it's competing or if it's being a personal trainer, if it's whatever, if I go back to school to become a nutritionist or whatever it is, it's like being able to help people, inspire them, or even just sharing my story to help someone. Like, that is that aha moment where it's like, you know what, even from when I was little, I feel like, you know what, I'm being true to myself. This is something that's been going on for years and something that I've had in my head. You know what? It's about time that you just
did it.
Let it go.
Yeah.
You know, just let it happen organically and help. And
here you are.
Yeah.
Here you are.
So
it's
we'll
fucking
see.
Awesome, dude. I'm glad I had you on. You got an incredible story, and you know, like the whole goal with this podcast for me is really like your message is to inspire people, and not through like my story or like me talking, but like hearing everybody's success story, because there is a formula. What's the fucking difference between first place and second place? What's the difference between winning and losing? What's the difference between trying hard and quitting? And so many people are so fucking just, they go through their everyday life, and in their sub, they know they're not happy, but they just do it. And that was like the life that most people lived when we were growing up. Our parents, you know, like if you had a family,
the fear of being uncomfortable. And guess
so
what?
crazy.
You learn so much from being uncomfortable. The most I learned about myself was through struggle, heartbreak, trauma, those low ass points. That's when I learned the most. That's when I was able to rise.
It's when the most growth happens.
Yeah, it does. And it's like, you know what? Like, your mindset, that's the biggest thing. You have to believe, regardless of what somebody else is saying. You know what? They're probably miserable. They're not happy with their life. They're not being fulfilled with what they're doing in their life. So they're going to do anything to keep you stagnant. But it's like, no. You just have to keep on pushing. And you know what? I've heard negativity my entire life. Yeah. Something in me, it was just that spark that was just like, you know what? I just got to keep doing what I'm doing.
But you know what it is? At the end of the day, when you start living for you, you care less what other people think, because it doesn't matter.
Exactly.
When you start stressing about, well, what are they going to think if I do this? You really need to reevaluate if that's what you want to do, or is that what you feel like other people expect you to do?
Oh, hell
because you know, it's your fucking life. You get one, and you have to figure this shit out.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and it's like, I realized, like, even recently, where it's like some people that were really close to me, I was just allowing them to get in my head about certain things. And I even said, like, I don't like what I'm becoming. Like, I don't like how I've been. And it's just like, you know what? Like, you have to change that. Right. You know? And yeah, it's just about believing and changing your mindset. Just do you, and along the way, you will have those people that support you.
Just do you, baby.
Do you.
Do you, boo-boo. Hey, any shout-outs you want to give? Tell them at home where they can follow you at. What do you got coming up? You got a show December 2nd in New Jersey.
December 2nd, Atlantic City with WBFF. I'll be posting a bunch of crap on my Instagram about it, all details, where to get tickets and everything. Shout out to all my supporters. There's too many people to name. But yeah, definitely my nutritionist, Justin, all my supporters. I mean, you know, everybody listening, to you, sir, for having me on, being able to,
I'm glad we had you.
Yeah, sharing everything. So, yeah. Thank you.
All right, guys. Well, thank you for tuning in, guys. Again, it's another episode of From Nothing to Something. Make sure you follow Christina. Make sure you follow the podcast page. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. This is live right now on Facebook, But what we're going to do is we take the audio, we're going to edit it. The audio will get an edited audio, and I don't cut anything out. So when I say edited, I mean, you know, the vocals just get cleaned up a little bit. We put it out on Spreaker, it goes out on iTunes, it goes out on SoundCloud, and then we also chop up these videos and combine the audio, and then that'll get put up on YouTube. And I'll reshare all that on the Facebook page, on the Instagram page. So thanks a lot for tuning in, guys. This wouldn't be possible without you, and these messages that we're sharing with you is for you, so you can fucking live your dream. Go after the dream that you want.
Do it.
Don't accept the fucking dream that life handed you. Get it the fuck in. Work hard. Stay grinding, because you know we're doing it over here on our end. All right, guys. From nothing to something. We're out. See you next week. Ah!